Hi, 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 and hey, hey, Beatle fans. Welcome to another edition of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast. This is a bi-weekly show that we do every Monday night, not every Monday night, every Monday night. I just said bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks on Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook page. This is a show where we talk about the solo careers of the Beatles. Once in a while, we bring up the Beatles as a group, but for the most part, it's the solo careers of the Fab Four, the most successful solo careers of all time for many artists that came from previous group. I'm Ken Michaels, and I hope that you know me for my syndicated Beatles show called Every Little Thing. I'm also part of another podcast show, a bi-weekly show as well, called Things We Said Today. And I'm being joined by my regulars here on this show, my esteemed panel. First of all, let me introduce to you the queen of all media, not just Beatle media, everything.
Ooh,
She's the queen.
And Motown. We can add Motown now
Queen
to
of
this.
Yes.
Motown.
Yeah. Just cover it all, everything. And she's the author of Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours to the Beatles' lesser known works, and also Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop. And to know her is to love her, as I've said before. Kit O'Toole. Hi, Kit.
Hi, Ken, Tom, and Joe. That's you always come up with great introductions. And John, I always forget I'm reversed. John and I back here are freezing in Chicago, but
And I love the way your sweater matches the background.
I know I didn't plan that, but hey, I live to be color coordinated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm the queen
Apparently.
of that too.
Yes.
Queen
Why
of
not?
color coordination.
That's right.
Uh-huh. You have the best backdrops, Kit.
Yep. I
You
love
gotta, you
Zoom
gotta
for
help
this.
me. It's slightly better than what I have behind me.
That's right.
From best
Well,
to
you
worst.
particularly that one tote bag you have
Right.
behind you.
Oh, you mean that one?
Oh.
The Songs We Were
That's
Singing?
right. That's the best.
Yeah. Also, we have Joe Mayo. You know him also as Mean Mr. Mayo, and he has a gigantic YouTube page. So popular.
Yep.
We should bow to him as well.
Don't do that.
And he covers the Beatles, pop culture, collector's items, you name it.
Yeah.
Last week when we did our show, it might as well have been called "Where's Joe?"
No,
Right.
really.
Because we had a lot of people writing in, "What happened to Joe?"
We're just
So-
chopped liver.
Chop
I know.
Forget
I like
about
chop liver.
Wal-
I like
yeah.
chop liver.
Yeah. Forget about Waldo. It's Mayo now.
That's right.
Good
We
one.
need a little mayo.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Joe?
Oh, doing good. Thank you very much, Ken. Hello, Kit. And hello to the other guy down there that's not announced yet. Hello Tom. Do it right, So do you say his name first or after he's introduced?
Anyway, as Joe was just alluding to, we have one of the co-hosts of the very popular Paul McCartney, solo Paul McCartney podcast, Two Legs with Andy Nichols. And he's just so busy. If he promotes all of his stuff, it runs longer than our show. And that's Tom Hunyadi. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Ken. Good to see you, Joe, Kit. It's one of my favorite nights of the week, and it's a good topic.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have some fun tonight with, I do that on Facebook all the time.
Everything's all right.
Our topic is going to be songs the Beatles covered in their solo careers. In other words, non-original material, songs that were hits for other artists, then the Beatles as solo artists covered them. Or they don't even really have to be hit records, but they have to have been released before the Beatles as solo artists covered those songs. Okay? They can't be songs that were given to one of them.
Which I'm just learning now, but still, I think I'm okay, though.
Yep.
So in other words, songs that John or Paul wrote for Ringo, that wouldn't count. Okay, for example, or material from Buku's of Blues, songs
Right.
that were given to Ringo for his album.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be giving our list of our top three from each Beatle, and we're going to do that in just a few moments from now. I can't wait to hear you guys in the list you came up with. I'm going to make sure that Joe goes first because I always end up having on my list the same songs he does. And then he gets all angry at me.
So you left me nothing. Well, there's less to talk about. But sometimes that helps because I could learn something, some details of the instrumentation that you guys like. I'll say that too. Oh, yeah, I like that organ.
Okay. All right. This is a
Yeah,
learning experience for all of us.
absolutely.
But first, as usual, we have the latest in Beatle news. And I might have mentioned this in the last show, but on the plasticonoldband.com website, they did mention that the March 4th date would be the date they'd make an announcement about when it would be released. But we also know that on the official John Lennon Facebook page, they're saying that the box set will have, and we've had this number before, 159 new mixes. These will be stereo, 5.1, Dolby Atmos, and on two Blu-ray HD audio discs, and on
Excellent.
6 CDs. And there'll also
Wow.
be a 130-page hardcover book. So all that's going to be coming your way when this box set comes out. And I just have a feeling that with this release, All Things Must Pass and Let It Be, they're gonna spread it apart. Just my own opinion. It makes the most sense. Probably
Yeah.
about 2 months apart.
That's
Figure March
fine.
or April, Plastic
Yeah.
Ono Band, May, June, All Things Must Pass. And since Get Back, the movie, is supposed to be, hopefully it will be in theaters or on Disney Plus, the
Hmm.
end of August, and maybe the Let It Be box set will be around that same time. So, in each case, it's a couple of months apart. That makes the most sense. And then maybe a McCartney archival
Maybe.
box set the end of the year. Who knows?
Finish those Wings albums.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
No, press to play. Press to play. It's more important. Anyway, speaking of Paul, his latest album, McCartney 3, is now completely off Billboard's top 200
Wah,
album charts
wah.
Oh,
after debuting at number 2, then dropping to 37 to 90 to 200, just like Egypt Station. The album spent only 4 weeks on the album charts in the US. It just seems like the average shelf life of a new album from a veteran artist of the iconic status of a McCartney, that being 4 weeks. Sad, but true. And half of those albums are in Tom's room right now. That we're told.
I'm definitely getting to McCartney overkill. McCartney 3 overkill. Yes, I've gotten there.
I don't know. It was
Uh,
great. I love when it's news and
yeah.
everybody's talking about it.
Mhm.
It's exciting. And be
Absolutely.
grateful anytime he puts out anything.
Yeah, I loved
Uh,
it in December.
yeah.
And some of January too.
Yeah, we loved waiting most of December for him too.
Waiting for something.
Yeah.
Just have to read a comment from our friend Beetle Ed, who
Hey.
runs our show on Fab Four Radio, runs many of our shows, in fact.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. And he mentions when we were talking about all the box sets, he said, I will need a GoFundMe page. I'm with you. I'm with you, dude.
We
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all will.
Yeah.
That's why I said on my other podcast show, thank God for Ringo, just an EP.
Just the
Makes it easy.
Yeah.
He's easy on the wallet. Thank you, Ringo. Okay.
Well, that's because you're not a collector.
Yep.
The
True,
collector, you
that's
got to get the
true.
cassette, you got to get the red vinyl.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the music that matters. Remember that, Tom.
Yes.
If I have to choose.
Other news, Rolling Stone reports that Yoko Ono and Janie Hendrix, the stepsister of Jimi Hendrix, are among those starting a new music channel, which is called the Coda Collection, which will be streamed exclusively through Amazon Prime Video. The channel was named after the new multimedia company co-founded with CEO Jim Spinello, director-producer John McDermott, and veteran entertainment lawyer Jonas Herbsman. And Sony Music Entertainment is an equity partner. And the channel will launch on February 18th, Yoko's 88th birthday.
Wow.
Yoko was quoted on the new venture. She says John Lennon was always on the cutting edge of music and culture. The Coda Collection will be a new way for fans to connect on a deeper level. And the article from Rolling Stone goes on to say that the channel will feature rare concerts and new documentaries, as well as premiere films, alongside other music programming. And newly filmed exclusive performances will also debut, including sets from Jane's Addiction and Stone Temple Pilots. Amazon Prime members will have access at the launch to 150 titles. And this will be $4.99 a month with new content updated regularly. Just
May
nice
I
to know
say
that.
something here? Robert
Go.
Henry
Yeah.
says, I happen to turn on the show here, says, it sounds like Joe might be selling some of his McCartney 3-color vinyl a year from now. You never know. If you want to buy, let me know.
Tom won't. Tom will
No, in
never
fact,
part.
Ed Crawford says Tom will soon start the official McCartney 3 museum.
That's what I thought he should do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
For a split second, I had considered, once I got all of the color vinyls in my hands, that I was going to put them all up on eBay at the same time and try to get like a couple $1,000s for them.
To buy
But
more.
that was just like a split second. So once I got them all, I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
No, Tim Elliott wanted to know if anyone has the Third Man release, the yellow with the black dots.
Sold out
limited
before
to
I woke up.
333 copies. No,
Yeah.
unless I have $5,000.
Right.
Mere
Is that
bag of
what it goes for
shells.
now? Is that what it goes for now?
Two copies sold over $5,000 when it first was announced. Yeah,
Jeez. I'm sure it's a lot more now.
Yeah, good.
it's possible. I haven't looked lately.
Sorry.
All right, more news. Last show I mentioned that legendary record producer Richard Perry has a new book coming out on Kindle called Cloud Nine. Ironic that it's called Cloud Nine. That's the name of his production company. Cloud Nine: Memoirs of a Record Producer. Now it's been confirmed as a softcover book, due out February 16th, just a few days away. For Beatle fans, Perry produced Ringo's two most successful albums, Ringo and Goodnight Vienna. Special thanks to John Mazzini of the Facebook page, The Beatles in Print, Together and Solo. Mary
it out.
McCartney. Yep. Mary McCartney now has a new cooking show that just premiered on the Discovery Plus channel. Her new series is called Mary McCartney Serves It Up, and it launched on February the 4th. Mary, just like Mother Linda, has become a passionate vegetarian cook and has now written several vegetarian cookbooks and loves to entertain and cook for her friends and family. Her show not only will introduce you to her own recipes, but she'll be inviting famous friends to the show, like Kate Hudson, Nicole Richie, Cameron Diaz, and Gail King. For more information, you can visit the website discoveryplus.com. A few more news items. Fox Antonio, as in Antonio, Texas, foxantonio.com just gave a report on a photojournalist named Bob Collister, who in his career covered everything from floods to riots to celebrities. His son Brian grew up in newsrooms and darkrooms. Well, Bob passed away in 2019, and on his deathbed, Brian remembered that his father said he wants him to have all his photographs, also his slides and negatives. And Brian spent many weeks looking through all the photos until he found one envelope that was marked Beatles on it. On the inside were undeveloped pictures of the Beatles playing live at Shea Stadium in 1966. How could you just hide that away? I don't get that.
This never ceases to amaze me. It seems like every year
Yeah,
there is some story.
something just pops up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, this is in my garden shed. And
I've
I
always
forgot
heard
all about it.
all these years that they've said you've got to hide your love away, but not your 66 Shea pictures.
Right.
All right. According to this article, two of the pictures have Paul and Ringo looking directly at his father. These were up close and personal photos that captured the raw emotion of the night. Brian, the son, is saying he wants to auction off these photos with proceeds going to fund opportunities and education for journalists. For more information, you can visit investigativenetwork.org, or to make things easier on everyone, I posted the whole article on our Facebook page for Talk More Talk. So there's a link right there. Click it on, And if you want to make a bid, go for it. Okay. We note the passing of Hilton Valentine. He was a founding member of the Animals. And it was his guitar playing that you heard at the beginning and throughout their big hit, The House of the Rising Sun. Hilton lived in Wallingford, Connecticut. He was 77. Thought I'd mention that since big band, part of the British invasion. A reminder that on February 26th, the collection of 3 disc set Dylan 1970 will be coming out
Mm.
with outtakes from the sessions from his albums For New Morning and Self Portrait, including a rehearsal from May the 1st, 1970, between Dylan and George Harrison. And as I mentioned before, Ringo's new EP, Zoom In, 5 songs on it, comes out March the 19th. And I do want to make mention of the special event that will take place not this weekend, the following weekend, the Fab Four Con Jam. This is kind of
Mm.
like the Fest for Beatle fans. It's a virtual thing with panel discussions, and also it says never before seen content on the Beatles, performances from individual artists and groups, and also there are 4 eyewitnesses to the rooftop concert that will be there.
Yep.
Some of the special guests will be Alan Parsons. He was one of them. Also, Ivor Davis, Jerry Hammock, Nancy Lee Andrews. Our own Ken Womack will be part of
Mm.
this. John Leckie, who was one of the engineers for the Plastic Ono Band album, John and Yoko's Plastic Ono Band
Mm.
albums, and All Things Must Pass as well. Chris O'Dell will be there. Kevin Harrington. He's
Kevin
another one that
Harrington,
was,
the redhead that was on the roof.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Is he the one holding the
Yes,
notes
I believe so.
for John?
yeah.
I believe so.
Paul Saltzman will be there. Let's see. And Robert Rodriguez, who put this thing together. And as far as musicians, here's just a few I'm going to mention. Robin Hitchcock, Apple Jam, the Mona Lisa Twins. They're great. Let's see. Emma Swift and past and present members of Third Eye Blind, the Fab Four. I don't know if the whole band's going to be there. They're great musicians. The Joe Jackson Band. That'd be amazing. It says
Wow.
Weezer, Jellyfish,
Oh,
Smash Mouth. If you need more information, you can go to this website. It's Fab Four Con Jam. That's Fab, the number 4conjam.com. And proceeds will benefit the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Very
okay.
nice.
Yep.
Okay. Again, that's February 20th and 21st.
Yeah. You know, when we had Robert Rodriguez on the Two Legs show some while back, he kind of told us this was his plan, and it was going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Brown he announced he was going to announce it soon, but then COVID hit, and then obviously, so now it's this.
Changed
Well,
everything.
yeah, it changed everything. But I'm still glad that it's going on, though. Absolutely. So
Hey, this whole thing with Zoom, all these
yeah,
virtual
Yeah.
events are
yeah,
wonderful. I mean, it
Mhm.
takes the place. It's not the same thing as
No.
being there in person, but it's
right,
the next best thing.
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our main topic, as I said before, we're going to be talking about our favorite songs that the Beatles in their solo careers covered, and we're going to mention our top 3 from each Beatle.
Hmm.
And as I said before, I am going to let Joe start this thing off,
But with what
since I
Beatle?
seem to come up with the same answers sometimes, and then it's
Okay,
like,
that
oh,
means you have
I
good
wanted
taste.
to.
That's all that means.
Okay, I
I
see.
don't know.
So,
So, who are we
which
starting
Beatles?
with?
Let's start with John.
Good,
John's
because
the easiest, actually.
that's page 1 that I have. I didn't have to flip the page.
Okay, I knew that.
I'm funny that way. I go in order: John, Paul, George, Ringo. But it's not always the case because Paul has so much more stuff. A lot of times it makes sense. Anyway, now unless I'm mistaken, with John, it's hard to find a lot of cover songs other than his rock and roll album. Unfortunately,
Just a few others.
unless you talk about like live tracks too,
Right.
and this and that and stuff. But so I stuck with the rock and roll album, and you know, I feel like I've mentioned at least one of these before, and that's Sweet Little 16.
Mm,
Now, I remember saying that on one of these shows, kind of defending it because, let's face it, most people will listen to that version and they'll say, "What the heck is this?" It's nothing like Chuck Berry's. And John, on one of the shows that he had been on, I think it was NEWFM in New York or something. I'm trying to remember where I heard it. He said that's the dance hall version. He laughed and joked with it,
Hmm.
and because it's more like a dance version, like you want to do tango or something with it. What I like about it so much is I like the way that John's voice is really gritty in it, and he starts really screaming towards the end and making the
Mm.
most out of it. Very enthusiastic to be singing it. And Chuck Berry was, one of his heroes growing up as a youth.
Right.
So
A
I,
Ute?
I did put the th in there. We just watched My Cousin Vinny again recently, by the way. Just watched it. So as I was saying, it sounded like Ute. What is a Ute? But anyway, so I really like that. It's an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but that's one of them that I
Okay.
like.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
then I'll go with Angel Baby, which
Mm.
I talked about. And was Rosie in the originals the one famous
Yes.
for that?
Yes.
She was 15 years old.
Oh, really? Oh,
Wow.
well,
1960 was a hit.
I like her version, of course, but we talked about this a little when we did the Give Me Some Truth show. I really like the way on this new version that Sean Lennon worked on really brought a lot of the sound up. With the vocals of John, it never
Mm.
sounded better. This track was always one of the muddier tracks that we had when we had it on the John Lennon Roots originally, Adam 8 record.
Hmm.
And then later on, we wound up getting it, I think, on Men Love Avenue, but it still wasn't really sharp enough for me. I heard everything on here, this Angel Baby. I love the horns and all. I'm a fan of hearing the horns on these songs. Some people
Yes.
say, curse the 70s with those horns. That doesn't belong in rock and stuff and pop. I love it.
Mm.
And again, I just love the passion he puts into it. So I love Angel Baby.
Okay.
And there's a number of tracks I like off the rock and roll album, but I went with the opener next, Bebopalula, Gene Vincent. You know, uh, as much as I like the Gene Vincent version, that one is the opposite of with the Chuck Berry situation with Sweet Little 16. Gene Vincent's is rather slower, Bebopalula, and kind of more deliberate like that. Where John seems more bombastic, and I like a little bit of the slight echo or reverb on his voice in there. And I'm just looking at Ken's face. I'm trying to get a reading if he has any similar,
I'm
similar
thinking,
feelings.
so would you say that when Paul did Bebopalula, because it was slower than John's version, was that closer to the Gene Vincent
I
version?
would say I prefer the John one in this case.
Mm.
You know, um, and that's my John picks. Those are
Okay.
my John picks.
Mm.
Yeah, it's I said John's the easiest because this you
Right.
basically have the rock and roll album, the leftover tracks from rock and roll like Angel Baby and Be My
Mm.
Baby and
Yeah, yeah.
Nowhere is to Love Her and those songs. But you do have those live cuts if you happen
Yep.
to like Hound Dog, from One to One.
And John,
There
and I
you
notice
go. Live piece,
John
right?
Tobacco mentioned Slipping and Sliding. That's one of the best ones too for me on there. If I could have had a fourth one, it might have
Hmm.
been any other day. It would have been in the top three. I love his version of Slipping and Sliding also.
Okay.
Right.
You
Cool.
can't go wrong. I mean, it's a fun album to me, rock and roll.
Well, I nearly
Right.
picked Ya Ya, but the version off Walls and Bridges. I nearly picked that one though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But
Kit, let's make you next.
Okay, well, surprise, surprise, two of these are from the rock and roll album, but a third one is not. I'll start with the one that is not, which is Well, Baby, Please Don't Go.
Very
I
nice.
that's
just
a good
think,
choice.
yeah, that is a really just really gritty vocal from John, and some terrific, rhythmic guitar playing that just this kind of chugging, kind of rhythm. And the bass on this too is just so good. I mean, just that,
Mm.
it's Klaus, isn't it? It's I think it's Klaus.
I
Um,
believe so. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Klaus is such a Klaus Borman's such an underrated bass player, by the way. And this is
Telling me.
another. He really is, and this is another example of that. The sax solo when you were just talking about horns, Joe. That's another thing. I'm a sucker for horns, and I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
And the sax solo from Bobby Keys on this. Oh, I mean, it is, it's just pure rock and roll. And that this was recorded during the Imagine sessions is so interesting. Because it has obviously such a different sound than the other cuts on that album, and and it just sounds like it was a great studio jam, and it has such a blues kind of. I mean, it's old rock and roll, but it has such a bluesy kind of sound to it. And and it's pretty different sounding than the original by the Olympics from 1958.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's really I mean the original was not this bluesy. That's for sure. But I like what John did. I mean, he really made it his own. And I just really enjoyed this, and I was so glad that subsequent the collections, the Imagine Ultimate Collection, of course, we talked about a couple of years ago, unearthed this, because I just thought, wow. I mean, why wasn't this on the rock and roll album? I wish the rock and roll album sounded even more like this. I mean,
Right.
I because I know, and I'm sure we'll do a show on the rock and roll album in the future. But because I think I've mentioned I've had my issues with the production on it and that kind of thing. But this, I just thought, this is what I wanted it to sound like. But there were a couple of numbers on the rock and roll album I did like, and one of them being I love the Rip It Up Ready Teddy.
Ooh. Okay.
I mean, first of all, you can't go wrong with Little Richard, and I love the way he put these two together in a medley, and I can certainly see they fit perfectly together. I mean, his voice is just so raw on this, and it definitely, in a way, it adheres pretty closely to the Little Richard version, but his vocals on it, again, because it's that John Lennon sort of raspy kind of guttural kind of voice, obviously different from Little Richard's delivery, but still contains that that great energy. And so I really liked his take on that, and again, to put the two together, and the band on this just cooked. I mean, I just thought, and lastly, and a couple of commenters have already mentioned this, and I think you just brought it up too, Joe, is Slipping and Sliding. And I thought this may be my favorite track off of rock and roll, period. It was Slipping and Sliding. John just sounded like he was having so much fun recording this. I mean, you could hear it in his voice. It's a little bit of a sentimental favorite for me as well, because I remember the early years of me going when I would go to the Fest for Beatles fans, and they played the video to this. And this was, of course, back in the days before YouTube and everything, where, I mean, I'd never seen the video before to this. And the way he would stare into the camera and I mean, right at you, and perform this in this really intense way. And I remember just being, so kind of mesmerized by his performance of this. And that's always kind of stuck in my head whenever I've heard the song. But I like it anyway, because again, I mean, that row of horns, you want horns, this song's got it.
That's for sure.
A horngasm, if you will.
Right.
And
Very good.
there you go. And I love that. And as I said, John's vocals on this, I just again, I mean, they're just so energetic, but also it just sounds like he's having a blast on this, revisiting, what influenced him as a teenager. So as I said, this may be my favorite on the entire album. And he really knew. I mean, Paul, everybody talks about Paul and Little Richard and how we could, imitate Little Richard and everything. John could interpret Little Richard really well too, but but make it his own.
Right.
So those are my 3 picks.
Listen, I wanted to just interject something. I was wondering, a song that I was going to pick, but I didn't think it really counted, was when John's version of, so to speak, of Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him, the Yoko song came out, but that's just his backing track after he died. So I didn't really, I love that record, but
I almost picked that,
yeah.
and then I'm like, I don't know.
I
if
said I
that's
don't
quite
think
a
it really
cover.
qualifies, so I didn't pick it.
Me too.
No,
Yep.
I wouldn't either. It's tough, and also because that came out after John died. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he chose
Yeah.
to release it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, but great choices all around from the two of you. And with John, he had one of those magical voices where there's an edginess to it at all times, and and he's so much at home doing the 50s rock and roll.
Yeah.
And it shows in that album. It is a fun album. Even though a lot of people like to put it down in the entire canon of John
Yeah.
Lennon albums, it's still a lot of fun to listen to.
I'm enjoying it more lately than I had in the past for some reason.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's grown on me a bit.
Yeah. Tom, your choices.
All right. Well, again, like you guys, I mean, I picked a couple songs off the rock and roll album as well. However, I did pick one that wasn't, and that was when he was in a little band that not a lot of people remember, but he was in this little band called the Dirty Mac, and he covered himself with Your Blues, and I have been when that CD was released. I never knew about the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. When that CD came out, picked it up, and I really thought that version of really rivaled the Beatles version, especially for me. Eric Clapton is just amazing on that track, and then also John's vocals, I think, really rivals the original version of Your Blues on that too. I mean, a really raw performance from him vocally on that cover as well. I'm not the biggest fan when they cover Beatles songs, but I think this might be the best time that a solo Beatle covered a Beatles song, if you will, because the others weren't on the track. So, but this I think was great. Mitch Mitchell was drumming, I think is really good on it. But I think
I kind of think it's a different category altogether.
That's
when
fair.
you're covering yourself, really.
Right.
Well, for me,
John's song anyway.
I love Your Blues on the White Album, and as much as I like mostly for the spectacle of it and the novelty that it's happening, I much prefer. For me, I mean, I didn't pick it.
Right.
I much prefer the White Album version
Oh
personally.
yeah, no, so do I. But I think it's a really good cover of that, and I think Keith and Mitch and Eric Clapton with John, I think they do a great job, and I think they knock it out of the park, doing a song that they really they did on the fly. I mean, it was only like 2 days worth of recording there when they did that, so they obviously they're professionals and they did that on the fly. But I think they did an excellent job covering that song. Stand By Me, obviously Benny King's version is beautiful as is. His soulful voice just carries that song. But I gotta say, I mean, again, we talk about the rawness in his vocals, and sometimes, I mean, that can work even on this like simple little, song like this, and it's really moving with his vocals on this track. I gotta say, and it's just like it's like comfort food to me in a way, this song, because it's just the Benny King part or song has been part of my life. Part of my life. I mean, I grew up listening to this song because that's what my parents, they listened to this stuff nonstop. And it's just like comfort in a way. I mean, I hear John's version, and I was just really blown away by it when I first heard it, and it was just really moving. And I was like, this John guy, he might have a career here. Obviously, I discovered it after his death, but it's still a very worthy cover, and I'm glad it was the single for the album, and yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah, I nearly put that on mine too. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
Oh,
big one.
classic.
It
Yeah,
is.
exactly. It
It is.
is. And then with like Joe, I picked Angel Baby as well for the reasons. Again, it's his vocals that really carry that song for me. I was listening to the original earlier today. It's just really, if you haven't, check out Rosie and the Originals on YouTube, and it's
Yep.
just, it's not a bad song, but John, just his vocals just are really um what's the word, I mean, he puts a lot of care into it. It's very I don't know, protective in a way. Maybe it's just, it feels like he's got that rough edge, but he's also got that soft side to him too, and I think that's really what this is. It's just like
Yeah, and
his
at times it
soft
goes
side.
falsetto. The voice goes
Right,
a little more
a little bit.
falsetto higher
Hmm.
at times. I like that part.
Right. Yeah, so it's again, it's another pretty powerful vocal performance from John as well. And and I like it when these artists, they do a cover, and sometimes they'll take liberties a little bit, but they also kind of stay true to the original as well.
Hmm.
So, and I think, John, I think with the covers that he did, pretty much stayed true to the originals, but then just brought with his vocals, I think is really what he added to those covers. And whether or not they were like a powerful, raw vocal for like Slipping and a Sliding or something like that, or just like a soft, vocal for Angel Baby, I just think that he was really talented when it comes to covers, and treated them with respect.
Absolutely. I mean, John's vocals are such a big part of his songs, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you've got that really edgy vocal from him, and at the same
Mhm.
time, you can have a song like Julia,
Yeah,
Yeah.
where
exactly.
it's a
Yep.
very soft delivery, and just to have that variety, those different
Hmm.
ways of projecting yourself vocally makes it even more interesting. But it's kind of interesting what you said, Tom, about Angel Baby, because I remember when John was on Scott Muni's show in New York City when rock and roll came out, and Scott was kind of like making fun of the song,
Right,
Rosie and the Originals version. It's kind of a very whiny voice and
right.
everything. And
Well,
John's like, no, no, I love it. I love it.
right.
So yeah, and he can have that real sensitive vocal too, and like you
Hmm.
said, the falsetto too, which works
Yeah,
so well in that song.
yeah.
Interesting that you and Joe picked two songs that didn't make the final cut for rock and roll, but
Right.
were left in,
Yeah.
left off of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I still never understand that, but hey,
mm,
what do
But like you said, Joe, that
the
the Give Me
quality
Some Truth
maybe.
version, the Give Me Some Truth version, though,
Yeah.
really just
That's that
stepped it
was
up.
one of my very favorite tracks on that
Yeah.
compilation.
Hmm.
The
hmm,
way it was handled.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, my three are probably not going to surprise anybody, but they're all from the rock and roll album.
Mm.
And you talk about medleys. I thought the medley of Bring It On Home to Me and Send Me Some Lovin' was outstanding. I think those two songs work really well in that arrangement. And you can call it the Sam Cooke medley because he covered both those songs. But actually, Send Me Some Lovin' was first done by Little Richard.
Hmm.
So I just like the way those two songs blended so well together. What's that you're showing?
I'm sorry. This is Beetle Eddie is watching us on the big screen right now. So.
Hello, Beetle
Wow.
Ed.
My goodness.
Sorry, Ken.
That's okay. Have we said how much we love Fab Four Radio here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
Mhm.
We certainly
And
do.
I
So
do.
yeah, so definitely that medley
Mm,
is in my top three.
mm,
I had to put, like the rest of you, slipping and sliding.
mm.
I mean, there's so much energy
Yes.
in that particular version of it. I love the whole arrangement, like you said, the horns, and had John lived, I would have loved to have seen him do that one live. It would have
Yes.
made a great encore towards the end. His passion for 50s rock and roll shows in that. And it's just a killer version. It's like 2.5 minutes of rock and roll heaven.
He
It
did do a
really is.
version
It's
of that on Sir Lou Grade, right?
right.
Yep.
He did. That was pretty good
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
Mm.
But the one that's on rock and roll is just it's
Yeah.
completely perfect.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it. And at number one, I had to put Stand By Me in there. It's rare when I will list like at number one a song that's a hit because they tend to get played out. But I never get tired of Stand By Me. John's
Yeah.
vocals are so superb. And on the Give Me Some Truth compilation,
Yeah.
you really notice they pumped up his vocals there, probably more so than any of the cuts, maybe. And his voice is like I said, magical. It's part of what carries the song.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to a John Lennon recording, it's that integral
Right.
Yep.
to the recording itself. And I love the guitar solo, Jesse at Davis, which
Mm.
Yes.
was, very George Harrison-esque, maybe intentional, but another perfect recording right there. And it's hard to I don't like to compare it so much with Benny King's because that's a classic too.
Right.
And
Yep.
you also had the benefit there, Tom, of it being a hit all over again when the
Yeah.
movie came out.
Right.
So you heard Benny King's version all the time, and rightfully
Yes.
so.
Yep.
And but John did the song justice. He
Mhm.
really did. I thought he did a superb job with that arrangement.
And it's so great that or at least we had such limited amount of things from John. At least we're treated to those two films of him doing Stand By Me and
Hmm.
Slipping and Sliding at the
Yeah.
end of the old gray whistle test in '75. Those they're now videos, but
Yeah.
Right.
I'm so glad we have those.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. So who should we do next? I will pick Ringo.
All right.
Ah.
Okay. And this time I'm going to start with Tom.
Okay. Well, speaking of more comfort food, my mom would play the hell out of the Platters' greatest hits.
Hmm.
So again, just grew up with the Platters and loving their vocals, and then discovering what do we got here? Goodnight Vienna, and then you know so my one pick here is Only You by Ringo here. It's just so simple, and I like that the vocals here are not, I don't think he tries too hard to match, the like a Platters version or anything like that. He just does his normal vocals, and I think it just fits. And then just with the acoustic guitar and the that part I think really is really nice during that song. So I really appreciate Only You as one of my favorite Ringo
And
covers.
John chose that for him too.
Yes, I
Suggested
was
it
That's
just
right.
going to
too.
say, yeah,
Right.
and then we've got that demo there on the John Lennon anthology as well,
Yeah.
that to
Right.
go along with it. So
And
I'm
you
really
hear
a big
Harry
fan.
Nilsson. Harry
Harry
Nilsson on
Nelson,
the
yes, and
vocals.
he's in the video as well on top of that Capitol building.
Hmm.
That's a good
Yeah.
video.
Next up, we had talked about a particular song while we were, before we came on, so I won't include that, but I got another one here. I love underrated album. Very underrated for me is the
No, me
Bad
too.
Boy album.
Yeah.
And Ringo covered a song here from the Small Faces, and the song is Tonight. And again, I think it's another really good Ringo vocal. Again, it's a lot different. The vocal kind of runs like the Small Faces version, but I like that this one is a little bit more guitar oriented and really big. You got that horngasm like Kit said earlier.
Yeah.
We're going to make that word popular
Yes.
now.
Uh-huh.
That's
I
going to
know.
be in the Webster's dictionary before
I've
you
been
know
trying
it.
to
There.
make it happen.
But I love his, Is It Really You Here With Me Tonight? I like how he sings that song. It's really gentle. I think it's a great cover by Ringo, and I think it fits Ringo, and musically wise, I think it's really good, and his vocals are strong on this. Then we'll go with Ringo's Rotogravure, and we're gonna go Hey Baby, which is another one of my my standout covers from Ringo. That's from Bruce Channel. I think it was 60, 61, I think it was.
63
Yeah, 63. Thank
or
you.
62,
Mm,
or
around
whatever.
that time.
Well,
Anyway,
it had to be early because
60s,
the
early
Lovely Do.
60s.
The
Yeah.
harmonica was inspired by that Hey
Yeah.
Baby, I think.
But see,
Of
and
Love
that's
Me
the thing.
Do.
Okay, now you bring up a good point with the harmonica. See, now I'm kind of glad that that's taken out in this version
Oh yeah,
of,
me
of,
too.
of Hey Baby. And I just love the Hey Baby in the song, because you got all the backing people doing it with Ringo, and I think
Yeah.
it adds a little charm to it. And I think he sings that cover really well, or this song really well, and it's really about the singing for these songs. Again, it's a lot of the vocals. I mean, he doesn't really take a lot of liberties, changing it up or whatnot. But I do like the fact that the harmonica is kind of taken out, and then again you got the more rock oriented, with more horns and stuff like that. So I really dig that.
Yeah.
What of your Hey Baby? So,
I
And
just happened to
actually,
notice that Beatle Ed wrote "I Can Help" by Ringo, and
yeah, that didn't
that's
come
not
out
officially
officially.
released, right?
right.
But I think that was a perfect song for him.
It was. I mean, that the lyrics fit, Ringo's silliness in a way, like the No No song and Hopeless and stuff like that. I Can Help, I think, could be would if it was released a really good Ringo track. Absolutely.
It wasn't until many years later that when somebody said to me that when they heard "I Can Help" from
Hmm.
Billy Swan, it sounded
Yeah,
like a Ringo
like
vocal,
Ringo.
and I
Yes.
never
Kind of.
thought about that
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
before. But yeah, that
Kind of.
song would really fit Ringo
Yeah.
style right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the ones that he recorded with Chips Moman, which didn't
Mm.
get released.
Right. Released. Right.
Right. And if I remember correctly, Joe, Delbert McClinton was the guy who gave John Lennon pointers on how to play the harmonica, and I think he played the harmonica on the Bruce Chanel version of Hey
Mm.
Baby.
Mm.
Okay.
So it's also interesting in a way, Tom, that at the end of a
Mm.
dose of rock and roll, he
Yeah.
starts to
You get
sing
Hey
Hey
Baby.
Baby.
Hey
So
Baby. Yeah.
he's like
Exactly.
previewing the next track
Yeah.
on Ringo's
Exactly.
Rotogravure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Kit, you're next.
Okay, well, great seeing these comments here. Susan and Jeff, you're going to like some of my picks here, because they're from the same album. But I'm going to start with agreeing with Tom here. Only You. That is really a charming version, and very different from the Platters, as you were saying, Tom. Of course, that's my favorite, I have to admit. But Ringo puts his own spin on it, and as you said, Tom, I mean, he isn't trying to, and he isn't trying to copy the Platters, and
Right.
that's
Exactly.
great.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's great. You can definitely hear Harry Nilsson here. I mean,
Right.
can't mistake those backing vocals, as you said. John Lennon on here as well. And I think it was very clever of John to recommend that song
Yep.
for Ringo, because the lyrics do kind of fit his personality,
Right.
and even having him speak that
Yes.
one line.
That's another line. Something else I wanted to say. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, I think that was very, clever as well. So it really was tailored to fit his personality. Because, and I'll probably be saying this about all these songs, because Ringo is sort of an all-around entertainer. I mean, I think not just a singer, not just a drummer. I think he really transformed into an all-around entertainer, and I think these songs really fit that, and that's really him at his best. And so that's Only You. These two are from an album that I'm really glad that we focused on this album on this show, because it really turned me around on this album.
I know where you're going.
From the Sentimental Journey album.
Mm.
I've really grown to just, I just think this album is so charming, and just a great introduction to the Great American Songbook, and so my next pick is Sentimental Journey. I'm not saying it's better than some of the ones where you show, like the one with Doris Day singing lead, but again, he makes it his own.
Yep.
It's and even the video further emphasizes that he's an entertainer. He's coming on, he's it's his opening song for his show, and it is sentimental. I mean, and I think he does a great job selling that part of it. But my number one pick from that album is Dream. George Martin's arrangement on that is
Wow.
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. and it fits him. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, his performance on like Good Night, that it's really fits kind of the gentle side of his
Yeah,
personality.
nice soft
Yeah, it's
rendition.
exactly. It's a nice soft rendition. That, and as I said, with the beautiful arrangement in the background, just it just fit his personality. It fits his vocal range, and I just thought it was a lovely rendition. And as with the rest of the album, you can tell it's a loving tribute to these songs that his relatives, his family loved, and that probably songs that he grew up hearing. And which is what makes that album so great. So those are my favorite Ringo covers.
Okay, great choices there. All right, that leaves you, Joe.
Well, I really was going crazy trying to narrow it down for Ringo because he's done so many cover songs. Probably
You
could have done
racking
a
your
whole
brain?
a whole show.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh.
that's not really a cover song.
Nope.
Is it?
No.
But yeah, I racked my brain. All right, I'll tell you, there's so many. But the first one that popped into my mind is a song that I love that Ringo does from an album I hate, and that's the Old Wave album, which I cannot stand, but I absolutely love his rendition of She's About a
Not a
Mover,
mover.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
which
Okay.
is
that's good.
it's a fun rocker. Ringo lets it all hang out, and with his "Whoa, what I say,"
Yeah.
I just see him like, "Whoa, yeah," and all this kind of stuff. Sir Douglas Quintet uh, did that, at least one version of it, anyway. And that's the first song that popped into my head from Ringo, so I went with it. Um, Secondly, this is one again. We've talked about this. We talked about this. I know I went through this when we discussed the Ringo the Fourth album. I actually love "Drowning in the Sea of Love."
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is not a good by a new standard vocal performance, but it fits the song. He sounds like he's drowning in more than a sea of love, a sea of booze. Now, I mean, you
That's a
know,
safe bet.
I mean, more power to Ringo. Nobody appreciates more than me and respects what he's done since 1988, cleaning up
Yeah.
his act. But he was partying then, and even in the
He
the
was having a
promotion.
boozagasm.
In the
All right, already.
promotional film,
For
he really plays
sure.
it. He really plays it up big, drinking in the beer and stuff in the
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
video.
promotional film.
Yeah.
But I just love the way he sings it like he's a little drunk, but he's out of his mind. He's drunk with love. He's drowning in the sea of love here. And I love when he does that line. He goes, "You know that I depend on you." Like really almost growling it a little bit. And I just love that when he does that throaty thing. I don't know if you call it disco. We loosely say disco-y song. You got all that 70s cliche stuff with the background female singers on it and
Mhm.
stuff. So I just have a lot of fun with it. Even for its, I don't know, corniness in a way. It's just a fun song for me.
I almost
So
picked that.
I
That
I
came
wouldn't
close. Yeah, that
I
came
wouldn't call
close.
it corny, but
yeah. Okay. Well, then we have the next ones. Both of the I have like I had four here. I don't know what I was going to do, but these both we've picked them. One of them was "Hey Baby," but I also had "Bye Bye Blackbird" on
Mm.
here.
Yeah,
And
Mm.
Bye
I
Bye
like that too.
Blackbird. It's just again fun, happy-go-lucky Ringo. I love the bouncy, zippy, happy version of it from Sentimental Journey. Upbeat, and stuff like that. So that's what I went with, and I had "Hey Baby" on there as a possibility. And I could have went in a lot of directions also. That Ringo's done on his various albums.
Yep.
And there's one famous one that I didn't pick because I'm trying to. You're supposed to pick your favorites, right? What you think are the best.
Right.
But also, I find myself going, well, don't be so cliched sometimes. Like, did I want to
Yeah.
pick your 16? I think is
If
eons
it's
above the original, even
yeah,
Right.
Ringo's version.
if it's a favorite, you put it
Yeah.
there.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
all favorites. Oh,
Mhm.
I have a hard time picking
Yeah.
three. So
Yeah,
that's it for me, I guess.
Mhm.
very interesting. I love that version of Bye Bye Blackbird, especially with the banjo at the very
Oh yeah,
beginning
yeah.
to
Oh,
start
yeah.
that
Yeah.
Yep.
way.
Mhm.
And
And
Ringo the Fourth, it always bothers me when people say it was a disco album. They can't really pick Drowning in the Sea of Love is kind of danceable if you want to call it disco, and maybe Simple Love Song is kind of danceable, but most of the album is not disco. So people brand it that when they haven't
Right.
really heard the whole album.
Maybe that's as close as you can get to loosely call it a disco. And if you want to do Good Night Tonight, it's close.
Well, Lawrence Juber has said to me a number of times
Right.
it's not
It's
disco.
not a disco.
Well, what is? What's disco that they did? Anything?
Oh, I don't know. It's a fine line. There's danceable.
Yeah.
Is Ue Le Soleil disco?
No.
No,
No, it's
it's
danceable.
dance. I would
Okay.
say,
Well, this dance,
which is
yeah.
kind of and I like disco. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Me
like
neither.
disco too. I
like
hated it when it
disco.
came out. I love it now
Yeah.
compared to the crap we got out now.
Yeah,
But,
so I mean,
Hey, hey.
Hey, this is what you got me on here for. A little edge.
a little edge.
and then,
Like John, you're edgy.
But I don't know if you think of disco in the terms of like I love like Donna Summer and a song like say Hot Stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
if you think of disco, I don't know, only necessarily having to have that boom 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 drum thing,
Yeah.
which I don't think that is all of disco. I think there's disco without that. Right?
Yeah.
So I think like George McRae is disco. Rock Your Baby's considered disco,
Yeah.
but not that type with the driving
Yeah. They're different kinds.
drum.
Hmm.
So.
Well, we
Alright.
can go off on a tangent on this.
Yeah,
topic,
we
but,
got
Yeah.
a disco show.
yeah.
And we haven't even
That's
done
coming.
George and
That's
Paul yet. Wow.
Yeah, that's right. So,
And
so
I haven't
Ken,
done my
what are-
Ringo ones.
Yeah,
That's
what are
right.
your
Right.
picks?
Okay. I put down for number 3 one of my all-time favorite Ringo songs, which is from Bad Boy, and it's Heart on My Sleeve.
Oh, it's great.
Hmm.
Heart on My Sleeve was written by two guys from Scotland, Benny Gallagher and Graham Lyle. And it was actually a hit record. It was top 10 in Ireland and in the UK.
Mhm.
And it was a hit on the adult contemporary charts here in the US, although I don't remember their version getting played here in the US. But it was a hit overseas. And also Brian Ferry had a hit with the song in 1976 in the UK. It's a great song. I love the sentiment. I love the words. It so fits Ringo. I love the live version he did for the Bad Boy TV special. I
Mhm.
wish it was a song he would bring out on tour. I just love everything about that song. It's one of my
Yeah, me
favorite
too.
songs.
Me too.
And
Good
I did
pick.
not realize this until I looked this up today. But those songwriters, Benny Gallagher and Graham Lyle, were actually hired by Apple Records as a songwriting team to write for their artists. And I know for a fact that Mary Hopkin recorded a song called Sparrow, which was
Mm.
written by the two of them.
Very
So
cool.
there is that connection too.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah. But Heart on My Sleeve is one of my favorite of all Ringo songs.
Read.
My second favorite is one that Kit is going to kill me for
Uh-oh.
saying,
Uh-oh.
because when we talked about Sentimental Journey, I told you how much I love this version, and
Oh,
I really
know.
like.
I know what you're gonna say.
I love Stardust. I think it was a fantastic version of the song. I like the whole arrangement. I love in the middle part before they get into the orchestra doing the solo and Ringo's going, hit me. Yeah, I love that whole part. But I think his voice worked very well throughout the whole album. We're not kidding ourselves here when we say we know that Ringo has a limited range, but
Right.
it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to pick songs that you can't sing and it's noticeable, then there's a problem there. But I kind of felt like he did a fine job on all the songs on Sentimental Journey. No one's going to say he's Frank Sinatra, but his voice works for those songs. He has a certain quality, a certain charm, a certain warmth that he brings to these songs. And like you said, Kid, he makes them his own, these particular arrangements. They really fit. And, I love the title track, The Sentimental Journey, too. Great choice, as was
Okay.
Bye Bye Blackbird. But Stardust had to be in there for me. That's one I didn't even have to think about.
That's okay. I still love you, Ken.
Aw.
Yeah. Very sweet.
So my number one choice, again, I'm going with a hit. How dare I? But you're 16.
There you go.
It really is a great recording. It's a fun recording. I love how it opens with Nicky Hopkins on the piano. Harry Nilsson's on that. Paul McCartney does the kazoo bit. And it fits Ringo's style. It was an
Exactly.
excellent arrangement of that song, and it deserved to be a #1 hit.
Number one, sure.
So I had to go with that one.
Good
So
choice.
there you go.
Yep, good picks.
Okay.
Ken, Susan agrees with you on Stardust. Says, Ken, I love Ringo's Stardust version. It fits him or he fits it. So there you go.
Somebody likes
Thank you,
Ringo's
Susan.
recent version of a cover of Money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, George Krinkle. Yep. He also oh no, that was Robert Henry also says disco gasm. So I'm making this happen.
Ah.
I'm making this term happen.
Okay.
Gasm.
All right. Well,
Love it.
Love it.
there's no disco in George's catalog, so let's do him
Oh.
next. So you don't have to possibly bring up that word. Since Paul has the most songs, we'll save him for
Right.
last. But let's
All
do
right.
George next,
Got it.
and we'll start with you, Kit.
Okay. Let's see. Well, this was kind of a tough one because there were some that choices that came close, but I will start with song we were actually talking about right before we went on the air here. If Not For You, which it is just beautiful song from All Things Must Pass. As I'm sure everybody knows who's watching, it was originally by Bob Dylan. And I've said this over and over, and all of us have, about making it one's own. And this is yet another example of that. I mean, really, George turned this into an unmistakably George Harrison track, with the slide guitar and the dobro as well. And it's just, I think a beautiful, beautiful track. And I love that, in true George Harrison form, that the way he performs it, I mean, you can interpret it as, romantic love or spiritual love.
Right.
Whereas I feel like with the Bob Dylan version, it's kind of, to me, it sounds more romantic love and unmistakably. And with, George Harrison, with, I don't know if it's his voice, I don't know if it's the arrangement, but it's just, to me, it's sort of ambiguous.
Right.
But yeah, it's just so beautiful and almost delicate, the arrangement. So that's my first pick. The other one, next one is Between the Devil and Deep Blue Sea. I mean, that is just, how fun is that?
Sure.
And to think it from 1931. It's originally written in 1931, and he, really just it's you can tell how much he loved music from that era, and he really sounds fantastic here. I mean, it's really hit those high notes at times, and I mean, really just knows how to phrase. I mean, that's the other thing too.
Yep.
A song like this, it can be tough to work on phrasing. I think we've mentioned that before on this show, and he does it very easily. And recorded with Jools Holland's band, and of course the arrangement, beautiful, fits with the time. I just I love it. I just think it's, George at his most charming, and it has wittiness to it as well. And we of course know about George's sense of humor. We did a show on it.
Yep.
So, and number one, and here I'm going with a hit, but I just think this is so significant, of course, is Got My Mind Set on You, because I mean, just incredible how what a comeback this song represents. Also amazing how it's completely different from the original. Completely. I like the original. If you listen to the James Ray version, I mean, I like James Ray's voice, although toward the end, when the backing singers come in, the female, it starts getting a little Lawrence Welky for me, but starts getting into that territory, but up until that point, it's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun Latin sort of feel. I mean, George and Jeff Lynne turned it into something completely different. I mean,
Right.
it's more straightforward rock, and it just, they just breathed new life into it. And it's just astounding how this song turned his career around. And, I remember this came out when I was probably, I don't know, sophomore in high school, something like that. And my friends just loved this song, who were not Beatles fans at all, who
Right.
had, barely knew who George Harrison was, and how this song appealed to so many age
It's
groups.
comfort food.
Right.
It's comfort food. It is, but it turned a whole new generation onto him. And so,
Yes, that's true. Good
yep,
point.
and so that's why that's my number one.
And I think the video
Mm.
helped. Well, the two videos, but
Yes.
the one with the
Yeah.
arcade was a smart choice too on MTV.
Yep, that was fun
Yeah.
too, and yeah.
The other one
the
was
video-
better when he gets off the chair and starts doing, somersaults and all that
Oh,
stuff.
that was
Yes,
hysterical.
stuntman.
And when it's so obvious that the guy doing the
Doing it,
somersault is
right.
not him.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
It's
It's
like-
so yeah.
Right.
And when he's looking off to the side at times, like you can tell he just like, I
Right.
don't want to make a video. And I mean, it
Yeah,
was
he used to talk about that in
It's great.
interviews. I remember, I think on West 57th
Mhm.
Street interview.
Oh
goes,
yeah.
now it's
that
time
should-
to make a video.
Right.
Mhm,
You
yep.
have to do it these days. he
But it
says.
was like making fun of making videos. It was
Right.
great. It was
Right.
great.
Yeah.
I know. And that's another thing that we've talked about here on this show is that, at the time when that song was a hit, there were a lot of young kids who had no idea who George Harrison was,
Yeah,
didn't know he was a Beatle,
that's a good
and they
thing.
bought
That's
the
amazing.
record,
That's a good
Mhm.
example of what we talk
Right.
about. So he wasn't, I mean, that old, but old enough that it's a miraculous thing that he actually was able to appeal to a young audience for
That's
that.
right.
After
Mm.
being gone for 4 or 5 years too.
Right.
No, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
That's
throughout
right.
the 70s, that happened with the solo Beatles too, because a lot of those hits were played on top 40 stations where you had little kids listening who
Right.
didn't know, who these four guys were while
And
they had their solo hits. So
I
That's
still
right.
hear. I got my mind set on you. I hear it a lot. I mean, I hear it in supermarkets and stuff. It's one of the most played tracks, I think, of all the solo Beatles. Still, I hear it on in places places I go, and I hear it. Wow, I think it's even probably popular online, from what I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
And it was the last actually Beatle
last
to
number
have
one.
a number
Number
one hit.
one.
One.
Yep. Yeah, his
Single.
last number one hit. You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, in the U.S.
Yeah.
anyway.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny that whenever I think about this song, I now connect it to when George visited the United States in 1963 before the Beatles did,
Right.
and
Right.
he bought the album from James
Mhm.
Ray,
Oh,
That's
and he
right.
learned the song
Okay.
from there because the
Mhm.
Beatles were familiar with James Ray because of the song "If You Got to Make a Fool of Somebody," which they used to do live. So
Yeah.
they knew the song, and so George bought the album and learned that song, and evidently it was lodged in the back of his brain all those years ago. And yeah, you gotta give Jim Keltner a lot of credit because he came up with
Mhm.
that drum pattern, which kicked
Yep.
the whole thing off. You know,
Oh, that's
So,
crucial to the song. Absolutely.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Very
All
good.
right, Joe,
Well,
you are next.
I had to got my mind set on you, and it saves me a lot of trouble because Kit said it so perfectly. We all joined in, and everything I just added about the number one status that it got to. And while he was going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think it was number one, actually, at that time. It was in early
Okay.
'88 that it made it. I think January. But
While who is going into the
got my mind set on you, and the Beatles went into the Rock
of
and
the
Roll Hall of
Beatles? Yeah,
Fame.
okay.
Yeah.
And he was there at the ceremony. That's what it was, number one then, I believe. While they were getting inducted, because it wasn't '87. It was January of '88 or so. I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's when it was number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty. So I had to pick that, and if not for you, again, saved me a lot of trouble. What can I say? Slide guitar, the dobro, multiple acoustic guitars, just a beautiful, pretty version that George does. It's really a little countryish, but I love it. I've always loved it. Maybe his best cover for me of all, But Now the third one will take a little time. This is one that nobody's picked. It's one of my very favorite covers, also of George's, and it's from the Somewhere in England album, and it's Hoagy Carmichael, Baltimore Oriole. I
Oh,
absolutely love
yeah.
that song.
Yes.
I can't tell you how much I love that song. In fact, I wanted my girlfriend when I was going through the list to hear it because she appreciates it, and I was playing it and on the phone, and I played the whole thing. I don't know how to describe it, but saxophone intro that runs through the song, the nice harmonies and the oohs and ahs that kind of like
Hmm.
complement it, synthesizers, uh, the overall melody. I just love the mood of it. I love everything about that. It's my favorite track of Somewhere in England, I think, if I was going to rank them. I just love when that comes on near the end of the end of side one to close it off.
Uh-huh.
Not a lot of people talk about it. Uh, but I think I'm reading Ken a little bit. I'm wondering if he's going to pick that. I look at his face there. And uh, you know, the lyrics. Again, I didn't realize this, but one of my girlfriend's favorite songs is also by Hoagy Carmichael. I think it's called Skylark,
Hmm.
and it's also
Mm.
uses like birds to talk about like love affairs. So it's interesting, and I really adore it. So that's
Okay.
really George Fast for me. Saved me some time with the other two.
Okay. Very
Great
interesting
minds.
choices.
Mhm.
Yeah, Thomas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I love when George does Bob Dylan. I absolutely love it. I wish he would have done an album of all Bob Dylan covers. He's done plenty of them, whether or not Dylan put them out before or never. As like, I don't want to do it. I don't think Bob has ever done a version of I don't want to do it.
It's never come out.
Yeah. But if not for you is a perfect song, like you guys said. I mean, it's just a good song is a good song no matter who does it. I think this is a good song. I love the Olivia Newton-John version. I just
Uh-huh.
love
Yeah.
this song. It's just a really good song. And then yeah, like kind of like the country, the where,
Yeah.
open up the track. I really love it.
Mm.
And when he really emphasizes without you love, it's just yeah, the vocal I think is what I really like the most about this version. And like you said, Kit, it could be spiritual, it could be romantic. You can interpret it in a couple different ways. Um, Again, another song that the Dylan song that he covered, and this was during the 30th anniversary concert celebration for Bob Dylan, and this was "Absolute Sweet Marie" from the Blonde on Blonde album. If
Mm.
you don't know it, again, another really good version. I love the Dylan version. I think George does another stellar cover of that song as well on it. Again, I wish he would have done this. He would have covered it on an album, just to give it a little bit more oomph.
It's
But
a very exciting
Mm.
performance when he did that.
oh,
Yeah.
I think so. I absolutely think so.
And excuse
Since
me, he's having so much fun too. I love
oh,
when I used to see
yeah, he
George
loves
have
covering
fun.
Dylan.
He looked
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it looked like he was loosening up by that time and really
And he
getting
always
into
looks
it.
like he's
Mm.
having more fun when he's doing somebody else's song than
Yeah.
his
I don't
songs.
know because I always
Good
remember like
point.
when he came
Yeah.
out and did, I think he first did If Not For You on that tribute,
Mm,
and he was a little
right,
stiff, a little nervous,
right,
and then by the time he started rollicking into
right.
Absolutely Sweet Marie, he really was getting
Right.
into it, enjoying
And there's a
himself.
really good, and I think on the concert for Bangladesh, one of the bonus features was a clip of
If
George and Bob doing that's if not for you together,
Hmm.
yeah, from the
which was
rehearsals.
yeah from the rehearsals. Thank you.
Mm.
Well, since you really can't include my other Dylan song because it wasn't really officially released until after George did it, but I'll go with for my number one, which is again, like Kid said, "Devil in the Deep Blue Sea" is an excellent cover. I love the opening with the ukulele. I love how Jules comes in with the piano, and it's a good Smokey Robinson type, well, type lyrics. I think kind of like you really got a hold on me. I want to
Mm.
cross you off my list. And stuff like that. I don't like you, but I still love something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
so it's got like a little bit of that flair to it, and yeah, the band is really hot on that album, and it's just a really smoking version. And one of the when that album came out, that was like one of the tracks that I was really, really, first listen. It was like, yeah, this is a keeper right here. Absolutely.
I agree.
Good one.
Wow,
Yeah.
you've all had such great choices and made some great comments here.
Yeah.
And many times, Tom, I've said I wish that George would do an entire Bob Dylan album because he just
Mhm.
seems so right at home with Dylan's
Yes,
material
absolutely.
for whatever the reason. I don't know why.
I
And
remember
the
he really liked Dylan, and he promoted, like, I remember when he was on that show Rockline in '88, and he was talking about like, sticking up for Dylan. He makes these albums, nobody buys them, man. That's what he said. And
uh,
he was playing Every Grain of Sand.
right.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Gosh, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the case of If Not For You, it's almost like if you weren't told that was a Dylan song, you might think that George wrote it. It's that
Yes.
close to being his style.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
slide in there.
Yeah. And you talked about Olivia Newton-John there, Tom.
Yeah.
She really copied George's version.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did one more George
Yeah.
than she did Bob. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, she also covered What Is Life.
That's right.
So she must have been listening to
I
All
didn't know
Things
that.
But
Behind that
Fast.
locked door as well. Behind that locked door as well, I believe.
Really?
I have
Have
to
to
double
check
check.
on that.
Really?
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
wow.
Good. All right, my top three. Here we go. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. It really, I mean, he's so at home doing this stuff. And just like I said, I wish he'd do an entire album of Dylan songs. I wish he would have done a whole album of covers.
Right.
Songs from the 30s or 40s or
Yeah.
all Hoagy Carmichael songs, or in this case, Cab Calloway had it with it in
Yes.
1931. And just to play the ukulele, I would have, he loved the ukulele so much. I wish he did a whole album on the ukulele.
Yeah.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. But it's a great arrangement. Like you said, Jules Holland, his band. I think there's even a tuba in it.
Yes.
No,
That's
it's
right.
it's a great
There's a couple
arrangement.
gnomes running around in the video. Yes.
Okay, my second song. Yes, thank you, Joe.
I saw your face. You can't play poker.
No.
You gave it away.
Baltimore Oriole. Yeah, it's a great arrangement, and I don't think you mentioned the sax in there. The
Yeah, I
sax
did.
is so
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay,
It opens
yeah,
up with it and plays throughout. Figures throughout.
really, really helps to make the song, as well as, like you said, George's vocals on there, the slide guitar, incredible arrangement. That is a definite highlight right there of Somewhere in England.
Yeah.
Is,
Right.
Baltimore Oriole. Wonderful arrangement overall.
Robert didn't
Um,
think so, by the way. My buddy Robert there said, what funny comment did he make?
Oh
A
yeah,
few
I think I
back,
saw
he
that
said,
earlier.
well, I don't know if he should say, oh, I lost it. He said it's, I don't know, something about, yeah, he just has to disagree. It stinks as bad as the city.
Yeah,
It's
that's
what?
what he
Also,
Words to that effect, I'm paraphrasing. It stinks, it's as bad as the city.
city.
of Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, Robert. Okay.
Me too. Me too. He's a good friend of mine. And
Okay.
Mhm.
We can agree to disagree.
That's
yes,
right.
Yes, we can.
And my number one pick, although I have to put in an honorable mention too, but I've always just adored True Love, the Cole
There are
Porter
some votes for
version.
that in the comments.
Yeah, from 33 and a third. And George's slide guitar work is stellar on that. It really works. I kind of felt that it might have made a really good third single from 33 and a third. It really had a commercial appeal to it. Yeah, he's such a good interpreter of old songs. I really love the arrangements that he brings to songs like these. And the honorable arrangement, and I just thought of this because of what you said, Tom, about how happy George
Yeah.
looks when it's not his own
Well,
material.
sure, exactly. Yeah.
But one of the greatest moments, including the Beatles as a group,
Carl Perkins.
Carl Perkins. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Wow.
George lit up like a Christmas tree
Yes, he
on
did.
on that special.
I was
And
thinking about
when even though I love when he did Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby,
Mhm.
when they did Your True Love
Right.
with Carl and George and Dave Edmunds, oh my God,
that. Yeah.
man! I mean, that's one of the greatest moments ever live
Agreed, yeah.
from any of the Beatles.
Mhm.
You know,
He's so comfortable and he's so into it, and he reveres Carl Perkins so much.
Yep.
It's a wonderful moment.
Yep.
there's that moment in the show where it's just Carl and George, and Carl is doing the finger picking, and he's
Right.
doing "The World Is Waiting for the Sunrise," the Les Paul song and everything, and George is looking at him like, "This is God here." How is he playing like that? Who am I? I bow
Right.
down to you.
Yeah.
Like we bow to Kit. It's the same
Yes.
thing. Anyway,
No
Uh,
comment.
Paul has obviously the most songs, the
Mhm.
biggest catalog, so it's the toughest to
Yeah.
pick.
That was tough.
So we saved him for last, and let's go back to Joe.
Well, um, yeah, there were a lot of picks. There were a lot of picks. I went with "Love Is Strange"
Wow.
first. Wildlife. I always get Mickey and Sylvia mixed up with Ian and it's Mickey and Sylvia,
Ian and
right?
Sylvia.
Yeah.
Did it, but I also like what Linda adds to it too. She's in there too, wailing with him on the song,
Mhm.
and I just enjoy it. I don't have much to say about it. It takes a while to get going, but once it starts kicking in with the vocals, I really enjoy it, and it's a highlight for me of the Wildlife album. Yeah, I like a lot of songs off there, surprisingly enough these days, but that's a highlight for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
Next, I went with a song that I was really wondering. It's from Run Devil Run, which I like better than the I never know how to say it, Choba BCCP album.
Mhm.
It's a little controversial. I said I was here to bring a little edge. I was thinking about Kit a little bit with this one. It's Honey Hush, and Johnny Burnett. Yeah, not because of that, but I mean,
I was going to say, where are you
no,
going
no,
with this,
because
Joe?
the lyrics in it are classic misogyny,
Oh,
A-
okay.
and
Okay.
it's
I got you now.
but I get a kick out of Paul pretty much just going through one of his favorite songs.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and there were different versions of it, but I think it's a Johnny Burnett one that Paul really gravitated towards. And he sounds like it's so young. It sounds like the Hamburg Beatles, Paul, on that. Like he could have been in
Mm.
Hamburg going through that, but like come into this house, woman stuff, all that yakety yak and all this. It's cliched. I don't condone any of that. You know, but I
That's
just get a
okay. I
kick out of
forgive you.
Paul. You're just putting on he's putting on an act for the song. I don't think he would do any of that, but I just get a kick out of Paul saying I'm holding a baseball bat, the whole time.
I know.
This kind of stuff, and I picture Paul with a bat. It's like I just I love mostly it's the energy,
Yeah.
the energy of it and everything, and the rocking nature of it, and Paul like going from more traditional, I guess, soft granny stuff. Yes, Paul rocks everybody. Paul's a real
Mm.
rocker. I said it, but I mean, it's outside the box. So I thought it would be interesting to pick that one, and it is also one of my favorites of the covers. And then it's funny because, as you say, Paul has so many covers, and it's funny that the next one I picked was also from the same album. When I could have went anywhere, but I really love No Other Baby.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
at first, I thought that was one of the ones that he'd written for a long time. I didn't pay enough attention back in the day,
Mm.
but he didn't. And there was a whole story that I read that he didn't know supposedly who recorded it or had written it, and then he was talking to George Martin, and it turns out that they found out it was the Vipers, and George Martin had recorded it,
Yeah.
Right.
recorded them.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's 1957, Dickie Bishop and the Sidekicks.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the pace of it and the sound of Paul's voice as he sings. It's a little Beatlesque too, the way he sings "Yo" and all that. Nobody but yo, and all that kind of stuff. David Gilmour,
Mm.
shining on there as he does on other
Yeah.
songs on the album. Simple but effective, I wrote. And I didn't realize it's the only single that was released from Run Devil Run, right?
I think so.
I guess you're right.
Supposedly, I know there's a video of it. I know that,
Yeah, there's a video of it for sure.
and
Yeah, there
yeah,
is.
Try
so
Not to Cry. Well, that was a radio single, I think.
Mm.
Strictly for radio, I think. I don't think that was a commercial release. I have to double check.
and there's so many others. I mean, I could even talk about some things from Unplugged, even if I wanted to go live. I mean, there's a lot of things I could.
Sure.
Yeah.
Those are the
there's
ones I went
lots.
with.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go to Tom.
Okay. Well, yeah, just treasure trove, cornucopia, whatever you want to say. Just, I mean, there's just so many great covers.
Orgasm.
Yeah, thank you. And I was having one earlier while I was doing these picks. Kit, this is your fault. Don't forget. Yeah, just the last 2 weeks, I mean, I was just like, what do I pick? I love so many of them, you know.
I know.
And I'll
Easy.
start off with this one right here. This is from Good Rockin' Tonight, The Legacy of Sun
Oh,
Records.
yes.
Now, Paul does That's All Right, the Elvis Presley song. Now, he did this song as well on the Russian album. However, that one, that doesn't have Scotty Moore on it. This one does. And Scotty Moore kicks ass on this track. And plus, and you know what I also don't really care for on the Russian album version is his vocals are kind of like echoey. If you listen to that version, this one, I mean, it's just really rip rocking, rock and roll on this 50s rock and roll, and you know the guitar playing and the drumming. It's just too bad he didn't have Black's double bass there. Too bad he didn't really learn how to play that, or else it would have been, perfect to see him playing the the stand-up bass on this track, because there is a little video. I guess there was a DVD with like a deluxe version or something like that that came with this, but there is a video on YouTube that you can see them performing this song. So check that out. It's all right. It's all right. Or otherwise known as It's All Right, Mama. I guess.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. That's all right. So
and very important.
Yeah.
DJ Fontana plays
DJ
drums on it.
Fontana. Yes, that is
You mentioned
right.
Scotty Moore, but you didn't
You
mention him.
mentioned DJ. Yeah. So the two original members that played on the song, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and they're both gone now, so
They're
it
both
makes
gone,
that
unfortunately.
even more precious, that recording.
Amazing.
Yep.
Where do I go? This could have been my number one. It might still be my number one, but the album is called Brand New Pants and Boots and Panties. Tribute to Ian Dury. I'm partial to your Abracadabra. Now you can listen to Ian Dury's version on YouTube, or unless if you have that album or whatever, you can listen to it, and it's not as ballsy as Paul's version. He really brought some oomph to the song, in my opinion. And again, his vocal on it is just killer. Released in 2001. I mean, Paul's vocals were still really, really powerful. Then he could still do, rockers really strong, and he really nailed this version. I liked how, like I said, he really spedded the song up a little bit, and the vocals are terrific. What do I do for number one? Joe, I think I have to go with No Other Baby as well as my number one. It's it's really, really nice song. I mean, I believe I read that this was also Linda's favorite song. I got to go back and check, but you can tell. I mean, you listen to it on headphones or whatever, and you just listen to his vocals. And obviously this album, it was dedicated to Linda, and you just feel like it's really heartfelt to, he's really dedicating this song to Linda, in my opinion. And just a good vocal, and like I said, it is a more of a mellow arrangement. It's not really special, but I think it's really is Paul's vocals that make this track, and especially towards the end where he's really going no other, where he's really singing I Don't Want No Other Baby. It's really letting it rip a little bit more. Yeah, he is. Yeah, his vocals are getting a little more intense. Yeah. So but it's just so many. I mean, Tomorrow it could be Heal the Pain. I mean, there's just so many great covers that Paul has done. Room with a View was another cover of his that he does that I really, I mean, just man. Okay, I'll shut up now. But just some great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
What makes it even more difficult is that Paul has done so many of these one-off things,
Right.
Yes.
where it's one song on an album
Another
where
one
he
that I really
sings, or
like. It's When You Want to Walk You Home.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, a couple of these I didn't know really right off the bat when you mentioned it, Tom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but Paul's made so many contributions to other albums,
Yes.
and compilations and these.
Yes.
It's just one song somewhere, and it's
Yes.
not on his albums, and
Nope.
you gotta collect all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Because there's another 2-disc Elvis set that he does a song on too as well.
He does. It's Now or Never. He
It's
does.
now, yeah, I think it's that one.
The Last Temptation of Elvis.
Last Temptation
Yeah.
of Elvis. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another
And
decent.
that sounds a lot like Elvis. I think on the
Mhm.
Elvis version.
But if I can just talk real quick about my least favorite, that I just feel like I said, I don't mind when I can't find the CD right now. Maybe I put it away, but you know, I said before that I don't mind if they take liberties, you know, or making it their own. But I thought this one was, he just kind of overdid it a little bit. And this was for the Rave On, the tribute to Buddy Holly, that, you know, MPL. It's so easy. I think his version
Yeah.
of that was just a little over the top. You know, I think
agree.
he just kind of, you know, I still listen to it. You know, it's on my iPod, and when it comes on, I'll still play it. But I just think he just went a little bit over the top with that one.
Yeah,
I'll
I
agree.
agree. I was disappointed in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I heard live versions of that. I've heard him. He's done at some show. I don't mean on tour,
Right.
but little gigs. I think I've seen him do that at Buddy Holly.
But when he's done that live, it's pretty close to the original. He doesn't go off
Yeah.
Right.
on it. And there's that version there that's like 5-6 minutes long.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like, when is it going to end?
Exactly. And you got the
Like,
false
geez.
ending, and then he goes into this little rant, you know, and then
You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
King of all false endings.
Right, exactly.
Please
Yeah.
end this
There you
song,
go.
Paul.
Yeah. So
Okay, Kit. You're the next victim.
All right. Well, well, as you said, I mean, this is so hard to narrow down, and as you said, Tom, if you ask me tomorrow, I could give you, you know, different answers. But for now, so this I chose one cut from the Russian album, 20 Flight Rock.
yeah.
well,
Now I
that's
know
okay.
he's talked about this song a lot, but this was the first time that it was officially released. And I remember how excited I was when it was first officially released, because, you know, he would talk about it and would play little bits of it, you know, in interviews or
Yes.
something up until this point. And so I was so excited when it was finally officially released. And I think, you know, he did you know, it did it justice. I mean, you know, I like the echo on his voice. You know, he's got a little Elvis thing going here, even though it was Eddie Cochran, of course,
Right.
who recorded it. But you know, I like the echo on the voice and on his voice, and he, you know, of course, is an incredible voice. And you know, I just think the band was in perfect form. He sounds like he's having a ball recording it, and I just think it's so important that he finally, you know, for its historic importance,
It is important.
yeah, that
Yeah.
he finally got it on, you know, I almost said on tape. That's how old I am. On
Probably was on tape.
yeah, I guess back then it was on tape, you know, on CD or whatever. And so so I chose that. I thought, because as I said, I was just so excited. Number 2, I'm partial to your Abracadabra. I chose that as well. I thought, he killed that. You know, his voice was just incredible. I have to defend Ian Dury's version a bit, though. I do, because I know some of his other stuff. That's kind of his delivery. He's kind of this. It's very kind of sarcastic, you know, sort of dry. That's sort of his delivery. So I kind of like, and the Blockheads is his. They were really good. So I like that version too. But Paul took it in a new direction. I mean, he made it his own, as we've been talking about, which is a great thing to do with covers, and he certainly did. He just rips into this, and I agree. I mean, I thought this was one of his best covers. So you've talked about that quite a bit, so I'm not going to get into that. But number 1 is from Run Devil Run, but a different one, which is Party.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Interesting.
Yep.
It's interesting.
I remember first getting this album the day it came out, and when I put this on, and this song came blaring over the speakers, I mean, I was just blown away, because, you know, of course, this was not long after Linda died. It was just a couple of years after, you know, a few years after. No, I guess a couple of years after that this
Maybe
came out.
one.
What it was really just one?
Right, 99, right? Didn't you?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
99.
that's
99 came out
right.
in
So it was just-
99. Yep.
that's right. It was so it was just a year.
Mm.
So, and when that came out, I just thought, wow. I mean, he is really. I mean, he obviously took the year off to grieve, and
Mhm.
when this came out, I just thought, my God. I mean, he is. He's rested and he's like renewed. He's getting, he's rested and he's getting ready for the next stage of his life. And I thought, man, the next album that comes out after this, he is going to be on fire.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was a good version
and then
of that
driving
song.
rain, and then driving rain.
Oh,
came out.
driving rain.
But
Yeah, we'll get to that.
but
Hey.
before that,
But I love Elvis's version of Party.
that's great too.
Yep.
And
But
but the energy. I mean, Paul is really like, wow. He really puts it on heavy. But he does that with a couple Elvis songs on that album.
Yes.
Does he do All Shook Up on there
Yes,
also?
he does.
And I Got
Yes.
Stung.
and I got
Yep, both.
stung. That's great too.
And they're really they're really like off the charts, up tempo.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
I just remember that. I think I even out loud when this came over the speakers said, "Whoa!" I mean, it was just he was
Yeah.
just coming charging out. Interestingly, this version actually is closer to the Wanda Jackson version.
Oh, yeah.
If you listen to that, the Queen of Rockabilly, even the vocals are much closer to hers than to Elvis's.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
check that out. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. Fascinating because it's
Yes.
closer to her version. Even though he talks more about the Elvis version in
Yeah,
the liner notes
sure.
of that album. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
So
she does Run Double Run for the Art of McCartney tribute album.
oh, no kidding.
Mm.
Oh, I've been meaning to pick up that album. I've got to do that.
Mm.
But that just blew me away. And it's still, I mean, I hadn't listened to it for a little while. And when I was listening in preparation to this show, I mean, still, whenever I turn this on, I just think, wow. He
Right.
was just showed he hadn't lost any
Well,
energy whatsoever.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and the back, I mean, his band too.
I was
was
gonna
Oh,
say that.
yeah,
too,
David
you know.
Gilmour.
Good musicianship on there,
Right.
and then a lot of
Yeah.
energy, and
Mhm.
he's probably letting off a lot of grief too. I think.
Yeah, good point.
Trying to just let it all out.
Exactly.
The 50s rockers hold such an important place in the Beatles' lives. I mean, it's part of their DNA.
Yep.
And you know that every single time before Paul does a concert and he does rehearsals,
Yeah.
some of them are 50s rock and roll songs.
Mm.
It seems like he relies on them a lot to get his juices flowing and to get him fired up. And there's such a contrast between the Russian album and Run Devil Run, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the contrast.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
like it's two different bands, and
Yeah.
Right.
but his vocals are just so amazing on Run Devil Run
Oh,
all
agreed.
throughout, and what a range, Lonesome Town, my
Yeah,
God, the
that's
really
another good
high
one.
vocals on there.
Blue
Yeah.
Jean
So,
Bop is another one that I think is really great on the
That's a
album.
real solid album. That's a really good album.
You could
Yeah.
basically close your eyes and point at any track on that album. And they're like, I mean, really, it's that good.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, one of you guys said this, but yeah, he did do a concert at the Cavern, and it's almost like listening to the old Paul at the Cavern when
Yeah,
you listen
Yes.
to Run Double Run.
Yeah.
It really is. His vocals were that good.
That's the best compliment we can give in a way.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep, for sure.
All right, my choices, and I wish I had a top 10 for
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah, no
at
kidding.
least. But I'm just going to say quickly, though they're not in my top 3. Definitely, I'm glad that you all mentioned I'm Partial to Your Abracadabra. That was a fantastic version of that song, and Heal the Pain. And Paul and George Michael sounded so good together. It's another example of, I love all these one-offs, but when they're that good, do more. I wish he did more with George Michael.
Exactly.
He did live, but not in the studio. Anyway, so my top 3, I had to put the live recording of Lucille from the
Oh,
concert for Campuchia, which got a lot of airplay on MTV. And I love Paul's screaming voice in it. I love that arrangement, the rockestra lineup, the brass, everything. To me, that's like the definitive version of Lucille. I love that
It's
version
great.
of
That
that.
is great.
Although Pete Townsend steals the show.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm just
Maybe to you.
No, I'm just I'm not serious.
I know. And number two, I also put Love is Strange in there. Love is Strange has always, I've had a soft spot for that recording of it. When Wildlife came out around that time, that was the one song I loved the most, although now I love just about the whole album. But the arrangement is so unique on Love is Strange. It is like a reggae-ish version. And I love the fact that there are certain songs where you have very long introductions before you get to the vocals. Like Papa was a
Yeah.
Rolling Stone. When is it going to come?
Right.
You're waiting and
Yeah.
you're waiting and you're waiting. And I love the harmonies, like one of you said, with Paul and
Yep.
Linda on there. It's very lush. I love when his songs end with those with all those harmonies, so strong, kind of like he does with like Average Person or a song like that. I like when there's a lot of harmony work done on the song, and very very different arrangement, and nothing like Mickey and Sylvia.
That's for sure.
And yeah, and for a long time, Paul rarely did covers. Almost all of his albums are
Right.
his own originals or members of Wings, but until you get to the Russian album, and the ones that we're mentioning and Run Devil Run, so much of his stuff still, this massive body of work, but most of it are his own songs. And so Love is Strange was kind of unique for a long time. It was a song he didn't write. So but I really did like that particular arrangement. My number one choice was one that I didn't even have to think about. And apart from sounding so much like Little Richard when he needed to, he was just as easily at home doing Elvis Presley's music. And his recording of Just Because from the Russian album is amazing. It's so much fun. The band is rocking, I love the guitar. I know the piano playing from Mick Gallagher on it. And it just feels like, Paul, do the whole Sun Sessions album. When
That would have been
he's
great.
when he did Unplugged and he did Good Rockin' Tonight and he was so at home doing that, do Just Because. Well,
Right.
also, it's all the same, the same style, and it fits him so perfectly. And yeah, that would have to be my favorite. And there's so many he's done that are great, but when you don't even have to think about it.
Right.
Ever since I've had the Russian album, it's like you can't top that. That's just my opinion anyway. So
Right.
these were all,
Good.
great choices.
Okay.
Do you want to read a few from our listeners, maybe, Kit? If you can.
Let's see. Tony DeMayo agrees with you, Ken. I love John's version of Just Because.
No,
John's
that's Paul's version.
Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Paul's version.
John's is different.
no, I'm sorry. He said he
Yeah.
loves John's version of Just Because.
Yeah.
So no, he likes that better.
It's two different songs.
Two different songs.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
John's song is a Lloyd Price hit.
Oh,
And
okay.
actually, until we talked to Dave Morrell,
Mhm.
he asked Dave to get Larry Williams' version of Just Because,
Oh, that's right.
even though Lloyd Price had the hit with it.
That's
And
right.
Larry Williams' version was kind of close to
Yep.
Lloyd Price.
Okay. Oh, Tony said he loves both. Okay. So
Okay. All right.
both different songs. Okay. Let's see. Richard Kotwicka, Slippin' and Slidin', John Slippin' and Slidin'. I'm with you on that for sure. Richard also said don't get around much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Very
I like
cool.
that too. Richard also said, I'll take the Russian album over Run Devil Run any day of the week and twice on
Wow.
Sunday.
I read that. I was hoping nobody would.
Interesting.
It's two
Okay.
different feels. It really is.
Yeah, they are. They're very different. And I apologize. I'm sure I'm massacring some names here. Sergey Echeverry says cracking up. I forgot
Yeah.
about that one. That's a good one.
There's reggae for you.
Yeah, Sergey, yes. Let's see. Tom Green, no, my buddy Tom. I like any of Paul's versions of Buddy Holly's songs. Well, except we it's so easy. There's some disagreement there. Let's see. Joanne Grubb said Paul doing Lonesome Town breaks my heart.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's for sure. I agree. Let's see. Steve Sanderson, Tragedy, not the Bee Gees
Yes.
song.
Right.
Yes. Tom Brennan, our good friend Tom. For Paul, Tragedy, Don't Get Around Much Anymore, and Lonesome Town.
I'm glad to hear Tragedy being mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was held off.
Well,
The Red Rose Speedway album, or because that was bootlegged for a long time as part of Cold Cuts, and
yes.
it was always a favorite of mine. It's so cool, that arrangement, because you got a sitar in there.
Yep.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, that's true. Sergey also says "Fabulous" by Paul.
Yeah, that's a good
Forgot
version.
about that one. Yeah.
Run Double Run.
Absolutely.
There's a bonus cut
Yep.
on the CD single.
Susan Gagny says, "I love Paul's rendition of All Things Must Pass from the concert." Oh yeah, I mean,
It was when I was live
Blue.
earlier
I didn't even think of
today.
that.
When I was live earlier today, we talked about that for a second, and I mean, how can you forget about his cover of Something and All Things Must Pass?
Susan also mentioned All My Trials. I'm noticing
that one I love a lot.
Oh yeah,
All My
Trials.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah, there's so many.
A lot of good ones coming out here.
A lot of good ones people are mentioning here.
I wanted to steer away from their covering Beatles songs, even if it wasn't their own,
Yeah, I was trying to too, but I mean, that's the truth. Jeff Kendall, I don't know if I read this already. I hope I didn't. Also said True Love.
Good.
George, and Glory of Love. The Glory of Love.
Oh yeah.
Kisses on the bottom.
I actually had accentuate the positive.
I think
that's
one of the better
ones. On mine.
That's one of the better ones on Kisses.
I think so. I like live Kisses better than the album. I think the live.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Live Kisses is good.
One of his better concert films, I think.
And his voice was really good.
Yeah,
it's just as close, almost like the album.
Oh.
Let's see. Our buddy Mark P says, for George, I really love you. And Hong Kong Blues. I almost put that.
Okay.
That came close. Yeah, Hong Kong Blues is really is interesting. So yeah, there's Matthew Smith. Does George's cover of the Chiffons count? Ha 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 ha.
As he often used to say, bah. Used to.
Let's see. Steve Sanderson agrees with you on Stardust, Ken.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Got someone in my corner.
Check is in the mail.
Yeah, a lot of great. Dara Roberts. Hi, Dara.
Hi, Dara.
Good to see you. You're 16. Yeah, it came close on my list too.
And Singing the Blues is on here too.
That's
by
a
Robert Henry. One person. A couple of people said Singing the Blues.
Yep. Beetle said, When You Wish Upon a Star. Ringo covered that?
Yeah.
What was that on?
It's a compilation called Stay Awake.
Oh, that's right.
It was various artists all doing Disney songs.
Ringo would make a perfect Jiminy Cricket.
Nobody picked P.S. Love. No one picked P.S. Love Me Do.
Oh no.
Oh. You know who played on When You Wish Upon a Star? Herb Albert.
Oh,
you're kidding.
He did the trumpet solo in there.
Oh, I'll be darned. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, Herb.
For that one.
It's going to be a big upload.
I still wish I could see him live.
I've seen him a few times. He's great.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I'd see
Hall.
Yeah.
With his wife, Lanny Hall.
Great.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, so
great
this
stuff.
has been really interesting.
It
I love all the
has.
comments here.
Yeah,
the choices
really.
from
Somebody wrote "You Belong to Me" here too, Ringo. Right? You belong to me. Drift Away by Ringo.
Rock on Line.
Rock on Line. Yes, that's right.
Think It Over, Buddy Holly.
Think It Over.
Think It Over. I liked a lot.
You can go on forever with this.
Boy, I mean, this has been a great topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
well, keep them coming, guys. Give us some great comments.
Cool.
All right. So as we wrap things up, why don't we each give our viewers contact information and tell us what we're all doing. I'll save Tom for last because he'll go on, for 2 days. Joe,
Thanks.
how about you?
I actually have something to say this time. Besides the
Yes.
fact that my channel is, of course, on YouTube, Mean Mr. Mayo, and you can always comment on there and talk on there. But I learned, dabbled in StreamYard this morning for the first time.
Hmm.
So I have this little Brady Bunch thing ability now. Therefore, I'm going to do a show. When I say show, I don't mean like a whole website or anything with a whole show. I mean on my Mean Mr. Mayo channel. I'm going to do something. I was thinking of a title for it for hours today. And when you ever try to think of like a good title, and after a while you have to go away from it for a while.
Right.
Finally decided to call it Beatles Speak. I think it's basically to have. I'm going to have people on anytime I'm not on by myself. It'll have one other person or two, or three. Right now, I'm doing ranking the albums. I got that idea. I got to give credit where it's due. I got that idea really from the Two Legs that Tom Hunyadi does with Andy Nichols. They're ranking Paul McCartney albums, and I'm gonna go. We started with Please Please Me to McCartney 3 over a period of I guess a couple of
5 years.
or whatever it is going to be.
Until the end of your life.
And
Yeah.
and I thought I was good. I'm doing it live, but the surprise is going to be that I'm going to have a couple of guests that are going to be on. I'm not going to reveal who they are, and I'll probably be doing some interviews with people here and there. So maybe you three here and there if you like, and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like my own show in addition to my channel. It's going to be on my channel, just videos that'll be called Beatles Speak. I'll call it or something else. I was going to call it Beatle Pop.
Right.
I had all kinds of names. I didn't know what to call it.
Adding a little meat to that mayo on the channel. Huh?
Oh yeah,
Hey,
that's
I
what I
like
need. That's
that.
exactly what I need. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more involved, and that's just for when I'm not on my show myself doing my own thing. I'm going to be having guests on, co-host, whatever you want to call it, and
Great.
talk about Beatle topics and things.
Yeah.
That's
I got to get
great.
on there and do my ranking of Please Please Me still.
Yep.
Not easy. When all the
No.
songs are great, it's
No.
not
Yeah.
easy.
That is
We
hard.
should
Yeah.
do a show. We should do a show, you and I, Joe, just on Baltimore Oriole. I think so.
We can. Hopefully, other
Or
people
the
will be watching it. I
honeymooners.
don't know.
Or the
The
honeymooners.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the honeymoon. Well, that's just the thing too. I'm going to be doing my movie and TV stuff too. I can do that.
Hmm.
I won't call it Beatles speak, but we'll do. I'm going to do movie
Ralph
and TV
speaks.
shows. Let's
Yes.
have a honeymooners trivia show. We'll
There you
have,
go.
all right, we'll have all kinds of things.
Yep.
What does this
Okay.
call it? What Beetle? Oh man, somebody just said. Oh, Beetlegasm. Call it Beetlegasm.
Beetlegasm.
That's
See?
what Robert Henry, aka Robert S, says.
Yep. I'm starting a
Kid.
trend.
Kid, you are in trouble. What you started here. All right. I should know better, but Tom, you're next.
Okay. Yes. All right. So Two Legs. Yes. Very busy. Emails at twolegspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Two Legs Podcast. Now, as you guys know, we're doing 2 shows a week these days. I don't know how. Don't ask me. But Wednesday nights, we're doing Ranking the Tracks. This week, it is Pipes of Peace. We're going to be ranking this one, and yeah, can't wait to do that. I got my ranking all ready to go, and should be pretty interesting. This Saturday for our regular show, we post our regular shows on Saturdays, and it'll be kind of like our Valentine edition show. So we're going to be talking about kisses on the bottom, doing have a little romantic show or whatever you want to say. We'll get a glass of wine. We'll talk about kisses on the bottom. I don't know, but we'll have fun with that. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a great time talking with Gabe Dixon, who was the keyboard player for the Driving Rain sessions. And man, what a great guest he was. And he really put something in perspective that I was really, glad he did, because I was kind of like going in that direction, but he just brought it up out of the blue. And he just talked about how he could tell during those sessions that Paul was going through a change of, the transitional phase of his career, after losing, Linda, and, now in this new romance and with Heather, and just going in this whole different, what do you do phase? You know what I'm saying? You lost your kind of like your backup singer in a way, your muse, if you will, or whatever. Still writing songs about Linda, obviously, but, just a great great thought on that, just different way to look at next time you listen to Driving Rain, where, just got to remember that Paul, he's going through a little bit of a,
excuses,
yeah, well,
excuses.
you know what? Sometimes that happens when you realize the story of an album, it changes your perspective on it, like Wildlife, for a matter of and
Yeah, I'm just
they
having fun.
you're like, yeah, exactly, I know you're just goofing, but it was really interesting chat, and that's up now, so you can check that out. And I just wanted to also give a special thank you, I'm sure he's watching, our buddy Ethan Alexanian. I really appreciate you taking the time and doing our thumbnails for that Ranking the Track series. You're doing a great job, and he's messing around with some other stuff as well that we'll probably be displaying soon. So Ethan, right on, brother.
Awesome job on
Awesome.
those
Okay.
thumbnails. I do like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. Very
So-
talented.
Okay, very cool.
Yes.
And I saw the show, Tom, with Gabe.
Oh,
Very
thank you.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
very nice.
Yeah.
And you get to learn a little bit about his history before
Yeah,
Paul, after
absolutely.
Paul. He's
I
got a
find
new
that-
album coming out.
Yeah, I find that the musicians like when you just don't talk Paul, obviously,
Oh,
you
I
want,
know.
you want to talk a little bit about their, history before and after Paul as well. So, we like doing that. So.
Hmm. They do have an identity beyond
Exactly.
working with a Beatle, but
Right.
it's a tough thing to deal with for anyone that has worked with any of the Beatles, because that
Mhm.
for some people in this world, that's all they care about
Right.
sometimes.
And then
But
to tell him no for a tour and playing the Super Bowl, it was pretty interesting because he wants to make his own identity,
right,
So that
tough
was I
choice.
really respected him for that decision,
He wasn't the only one.
No,
No, Hugh Mccracken.
yeah,
Made
that's
me
right.
think about that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
When him and Denny went to flew out to right for
No, I'm talking about he
no.
was offered to join Wings and he turned
Wings,
it
right?
down.
That's right. Yeah.
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 And he was, Hugh Mccracken is one of the greatest, well, he passed away, but one
Right.
of the greatest session guitarists.
Mhm.
And he loved that life. He
Yeah.
lived in New York. He lived and breathed being a session player.
Yeah.
He was very settled. He didn't want to travel all over the world in a rock and roll band.
Right.
And Paul asked him, because he was on the Ram album, would you
That's
like
right.
to be a part of
In the back
Ram? And
band.
he actually said no.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think Paul was shocked.
bet.
But
Right.
yeah, I mean, this is the life that he wanted all along, and he
Mm.
stuck with it. And he
Mhm.
still had a great career, and so much great work he's done in the studio.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's move on to Kit.
All right. Well, I've been super busy with this Motown class. So, and last session is this Thursday. So once I'm done with that, I'll be getting back to doing my writing and other things. But it has been just so fun doing this class. So I'm hoping to be doing more in the future. So I will definitely let you guys know if more classes will be in the offing in the future. But it has just been so fun. But I'm going to be, and I'll mention this in the probably next couple of shows, I think, before I do this. I'll be back in the Tuesday night record club with Ken Womack. They do that out of Monmouth University, and I'm going to be talking about the Police's album Zenyatta Mondata, which I am
cool.
so excited about. I love the Police, since I was probably a preteen. So I'm so I'm really excited, and that's March 9th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be mentioning that as more as the time grows closer. So really excited about that. So as I said, once I'm done with this class, then I'll be getting back to doing more writing and being on podcasts and things like that. So, but as always, you can follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, on my website, kiddotool.com. You can also follow us on talkmoretalk.com. You can follow us on Twitter at talkmoretalk1. That's number 1. You can email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. We love getting your suggestions, your feedback. We love hearing from you. And of course, you can visit us on Facebook. You're here right now if you're watching us, but you can also, we are always posting stuff on news and stuff about what we're doing. I think that's everything. So you can find us. Oh, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right.
Don't forget that. We're at over 900 now.
Over 900. Yep.
Okay, we're almost to 1,000 guys.
Yep.
So tell everybody you know, subscribe to our channel, and of course you can find the audio version of this podcast this video cast on virtually any podcasting platform you can think of, all the major ones and everything. So subscribe to that while you're at it as well.
We are everywhere.
Everywhere. You can't
We're
get
taking
away.
over.
I like that.
Yep, I like that too.
All around.
Yep, that's
right.
Speaking of close to 1,000 subscribers.
Yes. Oh, wow. What a perfect segue. Thank you, Tom. Last I checked, 997 for things we said
there.
today.
I just looked.
Anyone watching, please get us to 1,000 tonight.
Yeah.
I'll be a very happy guy if you do. Okay.
Awesome.
I know some Beatle fans are also Bee Gees fans. So on my website, I've started this special contest for this guy right here. Barry Gibb has teamed up with a lot of country artists, and he's done duets with them doing Bee Gees songs. And this particular compilation called Greenfields, that's one of their early songs. It's actually called Greenfields, the Gibb Brothers Songbook, Volume 1. This debuted at #1 in the UK.
Okay, right.
Very happy for Barry that happened. And so he's teaming up with current country artists like Keith Urban, Jason Isbell, Little Big Town, and also with veterans like Dolly Parton and Olivia Newton-John. And so they're all Bee Gees songs on here. I'm giving them away on my website in a special contest. Just go to the homepage. All the details are right there. Okay.
He's got to be careful with that Volume 1 tagline, because we all remember a Volume 1 right here. That's
No, but one time I know we got Volume 1 and then we jumped ahead to Volume 3.
That's true.
So
I was just going to say that, Joe. Also, my YouTube channel. Without going into detail, the word agita comes to mind. But the last 2 weeks, I've had so much difficulty uploading this one video. I did an interview with Al Sussman, which thankfully a few days ago went up. It's just about 2 hours long. It's all about the Beatles' afterlife, all the releases since their breakup, what were the most successful, what weren't, what were the most significant releases, how have the Beatles endured as a group, that is, all these years. Are they as popular as they once were? Are they more popular now? How do you gauge that? We talk about all those things, and it's all on my YouTube page, which is Ken Michaels Radio.
Check it out.
So don't get confused. The website is kenmichaelsradio.com. The YouTube page is Ken Michaels Radio. If you can, please subscribe to that. Next week, things we said today, we're hoping to have David Bedford on as a special guest. He has a brand new book he's just released called The Country of Liverpool, which is all about country music in the city of Liverpool, how important that genre of music has always been, and carrying that into the Beatles and how they were influenced by country music and the kind of country songs that they released, group and solo. I'm sure he goes into the rockabilly stuff as well, and so David will be our guest next week. That'll be posted probably around Thursday or Friday, because we're recording next Wednesday.
Cool.
A week from Wednesday. So we got all that going on.
Really good topic this past week with the older Beatles versus the newer Beatles. You know what I mean? With the older music as opposed to.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
Well, that's a topic that's always been very important to me, because I did it like over 10 years ago in my first podcast show called Fab Forum. And it basically concerns, if you look at the charts as I do, and you all know how much I look at the charts, and I'm a chart buff, But anytime there's a resurgence of interest in the Beatles, especially when there's a new release that's out, older albums reappear on the charts. But it's always
Right.
Sgt. Pepper or the White Album or Abbey Road. You'll
Right.
never see anything pre 1967 on the charts. And why is that? With the exception of the Beatles one, which has the early stuff, that's the only representation of early Beatles music. Why is it you never hear anything before Sgt. Pepper making it on the charts anymore? Of course, that's the Billboard charts. That's one survey. It's very important. You look at Spotify and you look at streams and you'll probably get some early songs like Yesterday in there and I Want to Hold Your Hand. But in terms of sales and what's on the Billboard charts, I always, it's something that's bothered me. It was that way 10 years ago. It's been that way for a long time. You never see the earlier stuff. And why is that? And we talk
Well,
about that on the show.
I would think I would think more younger people gravitate to the later stuff. I mean,
Why?
I love the earlier stuff, but I mean, the difference between "Love Me Do" and "Tomorrow Never Knows" kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
or I don't know, Sergeant Pepper and For
Sounds
Me to You. But I mean, I prefer the early stuff if I had to pick. I don't want to have to pick though.
Well,
the later music, it sounds more mature in a way,
mhm.
than those earlier records, and that's
More
one of the
bubblegum.
reasons why that's one of the reasons why I gravitate towards the, well, I'll start with Revolver and to Let It Be, myself, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
I just like how they matured by that area or by that time, so
Well, I think I made the point, at least for me, the fascination is watching them grow
right,
album to album
Oh yeah.
and to see there was a maturation even early on.
right,
There are certain, I mean, If I Fell,
right,
1964, how brilliant that is. Even earlier songs that
right.
they were doing were very different and innovative for its time. But, there are some people who look at that early stuff as being dated. And as we've said here a number of times, I don't know why that should even matter.
It shouldn't matter, but you could even argue that some of this stuff 67 is dated more than 64 in a way.
Many people have said
Yeah,
Sgt. Pepper is a dated album,
Yeah.
and yet why does that make it on the charts?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just a fun topic to talk about, to hear different opinions about it.
Yep.
And, you never know when it comes to music because opinions change over time. 10 years from now, people could have a different point of view about the early Beatles music. You just don't know.
Yeah.
All we ever are talking about is how we feel in the moment.
Yep.
And things can change when it comes to art.
That's
So
true.
it's just, I love bringing up that topic. It's just something that's always kind of baffled me. There's just no chart appearance of any Beatles album pre 1967 for a long time. That'll change if the box sets come out for those albums.
Oh
But
yeah.
I hope so.
yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been absolutely fantastic doing
Yep.
this
Loved it.
topic. I
Yeah.
want to
Great
thank
topic.
everybody for watching. And as we said, please subscribe to our channel, all of our channels. We're all getting fat with worry. Please, if you can. That's a John Lennon line.
Yeah.
Anyway, but thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you next time.
Okay, everybody.
Good
Take care.
night.
Good love.
See ya.